Okay, so first of all, let's talk about the file system interaction. So the first function is just stat. So if you are going to find the status of the file that you pointed out in the first argument here, so we can use the stat function basically. And then, so we need basically a struct, the struct stat here. And so basically this struct stat here is basically inside we can observe the information regarding to a file. For example, inside of the struct stat.
This is the only things I found.
No, okay, that's okay. So I tried to. So inside of the struct stat, so you can basically observe the size of the file. You can observe the access permission to the file. You can observe if the file is a kind of link or not. So we can find all of this information in the struct stat. But here, as you can see, the second parameter of the stat is just a pointer. So when we pass a pointer to a function, and if we modify the variable here, so inside of the function, outside of the function also we can access to that. Okay. So this is called by reference. So we have two types of calling. So it's called by reference or called by value. So this is called by reference. So I pass it to the stat function, and after that, so I can observe what is inside basically the status of the file. So the next function is basically chmod. So as you remember, I suppose the previous session. So the change mode, we use change mode in order to modify the access permission of the file. So first of all, I need to indicate the path of the file. And after that, I need to basically specify the mode. And this mode, the second parameter here, we are indicating which permission we are going to assign to the file, and which file, the file that I indicated in the first argument here. So I suppose that maybe you remember the change on command that we talked about it in the previous sessions. So the another one is the change on. So, as I said before, so when we are creating a file, and first of all, when I logged into a system with a username, and I'm going to create a file, so the owner of the file is basically the user that I logged in with that in the system. So, but if I don't with any reason I'm going to modify the ownership of the file, so I can use change on in order to modify the ownership. So I can modify basically the ownership, not only the ownership and also the group owner of the file I can modify. So first of all, I should indicate basically which file I'm going to modify. And after that, you are going to specify the owner and also the group owner. And in the next step, the next function is umask. So when you create in the Linux, when you create a file, by default, it has an access permission. So if you are going to modify the default access permission, so you can use the umask in order to change the default access permission. After that, so the making directory and removing directory, we are going to talk about how we can basically create a directory and removing that. So as you can see, the first argument is just the path of the directory that we are going to create. And after that, the mode is just the permission that we are going to assign to the file, to the directory. And so the rm directory, so we are indicating a directory that, so we don't need it anymore, and we are going to remove it from the file system. And the next three functions is just opening a directory. So maybe we are going to opening up a directory, and after that, reading the content of that, and finally closing this string. So we can basically, it exactly recalls what we had about the file. So we could basically open up a file and then reading maybe the content, and after that closing the string that we have. So it is exactly the same. But if you remember, there we had a file data type, but here because I'm dealing with the directory, so I have the dir data type. But we need to indicate basically the path of the directory that we are going to open it up, and then so again when we have a handler here. So we can path the handler and reading the content, and finally we can close the file, the directory that we open it up here. And the last two functions is just linking and unlinking. So the linking basically, so we have a possibility just as an example that maybe for you is much more familiar. It's just like a shortcut that we had in the Windows operating system. So here we had a link, so we can create a link to a file, and then so through this link, so I can access to the content of the file. But actually, it doesn't exist exactly that link. It's not exactly itself is independent, but actually also it depends on the type of the link. So we have two types of links. So we have soft link and also the hard link. But the link is that is not a copy of the file, but is just like a shortcut to the origin file that we have. Okay, so everything is clear till now.
Yeah. Question. When we run we call the mkdir. When we have to specify the mode, the
Yes.
way we specify the mode is the same as when we call the mkdir command in bash from shell.
But from
It's for example u equal something, g equals something, or it's something.
no, we
different.
had some some define. So we can use just some directive that we have. So we can use them, for example, like IR X. So if you are going to give the X permission, this is stuff. So, but we'll see the examples of
Oh, okay.
that. So, yeah. But I didn't give example to indicate the permission to the directory. I didn't do that. So if you remember, maybe it's just
but
maybe it's just
probably
wrong. Yeah.
fine.
Okay.